NCAS-M students, scientists, and stakeholders, where you will learn all there is to know about NCAS-M. I am your host and current NCAS-M fellow, Camryn Billett. We are a student-led podcast designed to help you explore all educational and career opportunities available here at NOAA through NCAS-M. On this podcast, you'll hear stories and conversations from students about their current and past experiences working here. You'll get to understand our mission and hopefully come and join us. Today, we are joined by Alexandra Grayson, who is a rising senior at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Alexandra and I spent the summer together during our NCAS-M summer internship program. Alexandra, welcome.
Hi, Camryn. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. This is exciting.
Oh, no problem. So I mentioned to the audience that we spent the NCAS-M summer internship program together, and that was in 2019. And before we get started, I just want to know, what is your major? And what is your major? What was your major when we started the program? And what is your major now, if it has changed?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was a political science major, I'm pretty sure, when I started the program.
Oh, wow.
I switched to environmental science. And so right after that summer. Mm-hmm. So yeah, now I'm an environmental science major. I've added economics and biology as double minors since then. So yeah.
So you are an environmental science major, economics and biology minor. Do you know exactly what you want to do or no?
Not necessarily completely step by step. But I do know I want to do research related to climate justice, and I ultimately want to work on policy, NOAA-related science policy at some point.
Okay. So how did you first hear about NOAA and get involved with NCAS-M?
Yeah, so I was kind of involved with NOAA my freshman year. I just come out of an American Fisheries Society internship program after my senior year of high school, mm-hmm. and working with someone I met there throughout my freshman year who was at a Sea Grant, which is a part of NOAA's National Sea Grant program. I was with Maryland Sea Grant doing science journalism, mostly related to mussels in the Chesapeake Bay region, and also just trying to do a bit of Washington, D.C. engagement. And so I had a conversation with Dr. Morris, and he was like, should wonder about NCAS-M that we have here. And, we have this program, the one that you and I did together, the ETSP program. And mm-hmm. that was a great opportunity. And it, it kind of showed me what NOAA was really about. Because I coming from Baltimore, the Chesapeake region, most people get into the environmental stuff if that's their interest. And that was my initial interest. They get into it through marine activities, the aquariums in Baltimore, all that. So that was my start. But then I got into a wildfire project, learned a bit of GIS. We learned R. It was just okay, this is what this is really about. This is what research is about. Mm-hmm. This is what he's about. So I got to learn a bit more about what NOAA did outside of, the quote unquote wet side of NOAA. I think they're trying to stop using that term, but the marine side and also the Sea Grant work, just learn more about the other parts of NOAA. So those are my first interactions with NOAA.
That's really cool. So for me, I was introduced to NOAA my freshman year at Howard. I've interviewed a couple other people, and a couple others had said they kind of, had a NOAA pipeline where they did something pre-NCAS-M ETSP, in which they talked to an advisor, somebody else that worked for NOAA, and they got them into it. But I also had Dr. Morris as my advisor. He was your advisor, correct?
He was not my advisor during the summer, but I was interviewing him just as a part of my internship with Sea Grant. And that's what Okay. Well, you mentioned Dr. Morris, and you mentioned wildfires and stuff like that. And I also had the same, revelation when I came to NOAA because,
I, of course, no National Oceanic Atmospheric Agency, it's in the name. But for some reason, I always think of just water when I think of NOAA. And so my project consisted of atmospheric sciences. It consisted of, analyzing the Saharan aerosols that come over and how they impact our climate and our weather and stuff like that. And so it really kind of opened my eyes to everything that you could do at NOAA. You mentioned wildfire. Can you just expand on that wildfire project that you worked on in the summer?
Yes. So I was working on the Fire AQ field campaign and some work required for that. So I was working with an instrument called Master.
Mm-hmm.
My advisor for that summer was the PI for that instrument. And so we were working on some programming for that. And it was interesting because that instrument focuses on fire radiative power instead of most of the instruments attached to the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the instruments attached to the aircraft were focusing on, smoke, and which is interesting. It was about air pollution for the most part, the field campaign, but it was interesting to see, the importance of fire radiative power in that work as well. So that was pretty cool. It taught me a lot about the science and the technology behind wildfire science. So
that's really cool. And especially like seeing like 2020 last year, just the wildfires that 2020 was already a crazy year, but just the wildfires that took over the West Coast was crazy to see in real time, honestly.
Definitely. Yeah. And so I'm currently a NOAA EPP MSI undergraduate scholar, and the project I worked on last summer was related to how wildfires interacted with COVID and just a lot of the cross sections that sprung up from that, and future research questions that people can and should address at NOAA and outside of the agency, and maybe amongst different agencies. So that was some of the work I did last summer, but it was crazy to work on that and then also like see it happening.
In real time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, that would have tripped me up a little bit. So you have the internship, and you just mentioned that you're a NOAA EPP MSI scholar. I just want to know, how did that internship like impact you and impact your plans moving forward?
Yeah, I think it definitely had a positive impact on my trajectory. I was kind of feeling, the marine stuff, but it didn't feel as connected to people as I would like. And, like there are ways to connect that work to people, obviously, but, not always in the ways that I would like for it to. And I feel like, addressing air quality and getting into a project related to that, even if that's not going to be like my direct path, it was nice because it's like, okay, I know how this connects to people. That was my thought at the time. And, learning how to program is a very important skill, or at least knowing a bit of it. GIS is a very important skill. And I just try to continue to brush up on those skills since that summer I learned how important they were.
Right.
I think you learn a lot from all like professional endeavors.
Experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we were commuting. I'm like, okay, I learned, how to deal with that. I was taking classes at the same time. So you just learn how to balance more, which is always important. And also, it taught me more about the agency and really secured like my belief that I really wanted to do work with them. So.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you say like you didn't feel like your first, I want to say, a project or introduction into NOAA was as connected to people, because all of the people that I've interviewed so far, we have these internships and, they're very science based for real, and very environmental based. But what I will say about like all the interviewees is that they've all said like, after the internship, what I really wanted to do is I really wanted to dive in more so that I could see how my work was impacting people. And I think that's really admirable. And it shows the environment that it shows like how you're cultivated in that NOAA environment. It just sounds like you just come out being a better person.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like a lot of it too is, I don't know if everybody was from like our like cohort, but we're pretty diverse cohort, and I think that's a testament to like how important diversity is in just the sciences. Like there are people who are, I feel like, willing to and more, more inclined to see how their science connects to people. From the first experience I had, I was like, I wanted to touch on, we're talking about mussels restoring waterways, but I really wanted to talk about environmental gentrification and how cleaning up waterways can also lead to, increased home prices and pushing people out. Since you were talking about like the DMV area, DC has going on even just in the 4 years that we've been enrolled. So, I wanted to touch on that, and I just, and so I do think I was just like, I wish I could connect this science topic to people and equity in different ways, but it's really nice knowing that other people come out feeling similarly.
Right. The last thing, or one of the last few things I want to ask you. So you mentioned that you're a NOAA EPP MSI scholar. So on this podcast, we definitely use a lot of abbreviations. And just so our audience can understand what that is, can you break down what that is and what you are currently doing?
Yeah, so NOAA's EPP MSI Undergraduate Scholarship Program. EPP MSI is the Educational Partnership Program for Minority Serving Institutions, and it's a part of NOAA's Office of Education. And they have an undergraduate scholarship program. They also fund, Howard's NCAS-M in the program, the ETSP program that we did. So I touched on a bit last summer. I worked with NOAA's National Center for Environmental Information on a project related to the public health implications of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially related to West Coast wildfires and evacuation policies that were happening over there and how they were addressing it, at fire camps and things like that. And so I've had the opportunity to work with Dr. Terry Adams in Howard's sociology department on a project related to how people perceive weather information related to like severe data. So that's been pretty cool and fun to join in on that. That opportunity has been pretty nice. And I don't think I would have been prepared for it or maybe even gotten it had I not done the ETSP program that we did.
Definitely. I hear you. And it sounds like you're doing amazing work. Just to segue into our very last question, you mentioned that you're going to be working on a project next year. What do you plan on doing post-grad and how has NOAA shaped that?
Yeah, so post-grad, I plan to go get a PhD. In climate science policy type of deal, something interdisciplinary. My major is interdisciplinary at Howard. I think it's shaped me a lot. I have to hone in on some questions, and I'm applying to some master's programs as well, but the plan is to go straight to grad school. So
for the audience out there, if you've listened this far, just know we are in good hands. And also if you listen to some of our other episodes, I'll say it again, we are in good hands. The future is looking bright for all of our NCAS-M employees, fellows, students, interns. And I can just really see that the goal for all of them is to create and cultivate a better world for all of us. And that's really admirable. And Alexandra, I just want to thank you again for coming onto this podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We hope you enjoyed today's conversation with Alexandra and learned something new about NCAS-M. As always, there's a place here for you, and we encourage you to apply at ncasm.org. Again, that is ncas-m.org. We hope to see you soon.